Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about writing large numbers in scientific notation, so let's get right to it. Back in the day, and I don't remember if this exact number is true, but I do know Google owns YouTube. So back in the day, Google purchased YouTube for $1.65 billion. So thousands, millions, billions. Now, this actually goes into why we would say $1.65 billion instead of $1,650,000 or $1,000,000. Wow, I said thousand. Ooh, I'm getting tired. So we're going to write this as a scientific notation, and this helps us understand how we have shortcuts like $1.65 billion. So let's get to it. We are going to do 1,650,000,000, 0 thousands, 0 hundreds. Now the reason I went ahead and did this is because the number is all the way up in the top, and I need to remember this is in standard form and I'm trying to go to scientific. So as I do that, what I'm looking at doing is going to take up a little bit of space, so I didn't want to get things too confused. Plus, I didn't want people thinking this is a written decimal point. This is a period, as you learned it in language arts class. Now, I say that because here, when we have a number and we're going into scientific notation, we have to recognize where the decimal is. And if it's not written, it's always at the end. So there's my decimal point. It just happens to fall the same place as that period, so I want to rewrite it as illustration purposes in the future. If you wanted to, you could do everything I'm about to do here to the number that's already written in your problem. Now, what we're trying to do is figure out how to write this as scientific notation. Since my decimal point is here, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now here's where some people would stop. Sorry, not start. But there's going to be a problem. Our factor has to be less than 10, but greater than or equal to 1. In other words, it has to be between 1 and 10, and 1 can be included. So I don't have that. If I stop here, I've actually got 165, which is not between 1 and 10. So I go one more, and now I have 16.5, which is still not between 1 and 10. So I go one more, and I get 1.65, and finally I'm done, because I have a number, 1.65, between 1 and 10, and where 1 can be included. So now I really just have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I know my exponent is going to be 9 because I moved my decimal 9 times. And I know that I have this, and now because of this guy, I have 165 with the decimal right here. The only question that we have at this point, or should have at this point, is whether or not this 9 is positive or negative. And the way to think about when you're going from standard form to scientific notation, if you're making it larger than it is positive. Now, the reason I'm trying to emphasize this is we moved to the left, and we have spent a lot of time, not just in this class, in any math class where we started graphing numbers, is anytime you go to the left on a number line, it is always negative, and we've been using that same thought process every time we moved left before. We were going to be going into negative territory. The problem is we went negative when we went from scientific into standard. Now we're going standard into scientific. So we're going in the opposite direction. So you can basically think of this as opposite of the direction. Well, the direction is left, that's negative, so opposite of that is positive. So I'm making the number bigger by doing this. Obviously I wrote it smaller, but the number is bigger if I were to go back from scientific into there. So it's got to be a positive number. I hope I did a good enough job getting you to understand why this is a positive 9, and our answer would be 1.65 billion. Now, once again, this right here is why we say 1.65 million, 1.65 billion, 1.65 whatever, or 9.23 whatever, or 6.7 million. Whatever it is, scientific notation is really the reason that we do that. We don't really memorize this. We just know that this is how much they paid, and when we convert it, it's 1.65, and then we just remember it's billion from up here. So hopefully I didn't cause too many questions, because that positive and negative on the exponent can be tricky. Hopefully I don't like to cause questions, but if you get any, come into class tomorrow. Make sure you're asking them so we can get that clear, because again, we're making the number bigger, so it's got to be positive. But the trick in our brain, and the brain's going to try and trick us and say we're moving left, so that's got to be negative. So we got to fight and get that new rule in, that since we're making the number bigger from here, it's got to be positive. Now go ahead and pause the video and copy what is on your screen into your notebook. Now that you're back, anytime you have to rewatch the video for clarity or remember something, you need to write what you picked up into your notes. Use arrows, circles, shapes, pictures, whatever else you need to, but add it to your notes to make them yours. Last, ladies and gentlemen, when we're learning, it's about understanding the process, not about finding an answer. We'll see you tomorrow.